And right now, we are joined by none other than Kent Mafileo, the Fierce FC heavyweight champion, the undefeated professional prospect out of the pit SLC. Kent, how are you, man? It's been a while since we've seen you in the cage.
Oh, I'm awesome, man. Thank you for having me. Glad to be a part of the show.
Dude, we're more than happy to have you. We are really excited because you're going to be headlining in Idaho in just a couple of weeks here. And I just wanted to ask you, how have things been since you've been away? Your last fight was in January. You're going to be making the walk here in June. So it'll be about 6 months since we've seen you. How have those months been for you?
They've been solid, man. I've been consistently training, staying focused on trying to get to that next level, and I'm very excited to defend the the fierce fighting heavyweight belt, man. All my other fights, I was always excited and anxious, so to speak, but this one just feels a little different. I feel like because of the title being on the line, and it just means a lot to me to represent Fierce and represent Utah, and I'm just excited.
You kind of talked about getting to that next level. And I think if anyone who's been watching you over the last couple of years, since you made your professional debut back in 2021, it seems like you have hit that next level. It seems like you do have that incredible knockout power, but also that high fight IQ. When do you feel like in your fight career that you started to get to that next level, or do you feel like you haven't gotten there yet?
Um, well, obviously, I feel like there's a long way to go, and that I'm just beginning to scrape the surface after about 8 years of consistently training. Uh, but yeah, I feel like definitely since I've become a professional, that a different something clicked. That if I was going to do this professionally, that I need to take this seriously and treat it as like a full time job and a career, and it can't be a hobby anymore. As an amateur, it was more just a hobby and more of an outlet, and now it's everything, man. It's all I think about a day in and day out, man. Going to sleep, waking up. I'm just thinking about constantly being at the highest level and being a world champ, man. That's my ultimate goal. I just want to be a world champ.
I do want to ask you. I mean, some people they really welcome that mentality of being able to just think about it nonstop. On other sides, some people are like, sometimes I wish I could just have a break from thinking about this or worrying about being the champion or anything like that. Do you ever have those feelings of sometimes I wish that this wasn't the only thing on my mind, or do you embrace that mentality?
I feel like I've embraced it, especially as I've gotten older, and then now, like I said, as a professional, and it's finally all coming together, and I see all my hard work paying off. I see the level that I'm at and the level that I could potentially be at. And just watching the fights, watching UFC and the best guys in the world, I feel like at the heavyweight division, I feel like I belong. I'm right there with those guys, and
Who
it's
imp-
just a matter of before I get before I get recognized and I get my chance to mix it up with those guys. And I feel like June's a big chance for me to showcase that with my opponent, being that he's fought in Bellator and he's fought at the highest level. That it'll be my chance to show where I belong in the mix.
Yeah, Rudy Shafroth, 6-3 veteran from Bellator, going to be making the Walk for Fierce Fighting Championship, and that's something that I think that everyone in Idaho, as well as all the Utah fans, are really looking forward to. You talked about watching these higher level shows, the Bellators, the UFCs, things like that. Who does impress you? Who are you watching and kind of scouting out, and who do you like to mirror your game after?
Oh, I feel like all the top 10 guys are all very impressive in their own ways, but Blades, I've always been impressed by him just because his ground game's so strong. I feel like he's starting to get figured out lately in his last few fights, but I feel like he's still very dangerous, and he's brought his striking up to match his ground games, which makes him even that more dangerous. I feel like Jones and Stipe will fight, and then they'll both retire, and then it'll be Surge and who knows for the for the vacant belt.
So those are coming to some of the bigger shows. But when we talk about regional shows, people that you've seen, I mean, there was Jag Buller who was in Idaho a couple of months ago. You were cage side and you actually came into the cage. There was Darian Abbey, who you two were kind of flapping gums at each other back and forth online as well. Who are some of the regional heavyweights that you are either impressed with or you think to yourself, I really want to get in there with them?
Both of those guys, I'm glad you mentioned them because I forgot their names, but I'd love to get in with that Canadian guy and Derek. What's his name? I'd like to fight them both in the same night if I could. And I feel like I kind of opened my mouth in Idaho, and I wrote a check with my mouth, and it's time to cash it on June 24th and show the fans that I'm not just a big talker. Like I have a reason why I talk, and I'm going to back it up with my fists and my feet and my elbows and my knees, and then they'll start to understand why I'm at the level of confidence I am. I'm not. I don't feel like I'm cocky or arrogant. I feel like I'm confident in myself and my martial arts ability, and I feel like I'm on that level now to where I can say these things and I can talk, and I just want to be exciting. I just want to be explosive. I've said before I want to be known as violent. I just want to be known as an exciting fighter. That the energy in the arena is just different when I'm in there than anyone else.
Well, you are 100% one of the most electrifying fighters in the entire state of Utah. I'd say you'd probably top a lot of those lists as well. And so I do want to ask you, four finishes in your four professional fights so far, which of those, or maybe it dates back to your amateur days, is your favorite finish personally of all time?
I have to say my second fight against Sprower, I believe it was. Just because I had to show that I have some, he took me down, felt like 50 times, and I kept getting up, and then he was able to. I got kind of tired in the second, and he got me down, and I knew he wasn't trying to hurt me very. Like he, he was. I felt like he was resting, so I took the time to rest, and obviously we saw what happened in the third, but I was just very proud of myself and my performance and being able to understand that I got tired and I needed to find the area to rest and be able to come back and finish. That just, oh man, the greatest feeling in the world.
Speaking of greatest feelings in the world, I think probably, arguably, the greatest feeling maybe of your MMA career was when you won that belt just a couple of months ago. For you, what was that feeling like when you had finally gotten the win? The training camp was over. You had gotten your hand raised, and then you had that belt wrapped around your waist. What was that moment like for you to finally be recognized as a champion for Fierce Fighting Championship?
Oh, it was surreal. It's like it's still hard to, I, I don't like to, how do you say it? Like I don't like to enjoy the moment for too long. Like yes, it's a huge accomplishment. I'm the champion of the biggest promotion in Utah and arguably the West, and that means something to me. But that also is just a small stepping stone to where I feel like my potential is at, and I just want to, like I said, make Fierce proud, make my fans proud, and show that I'm the real deal, and I'm the next up and coming guy out of Utah.
So talking about, those next levels and where you want to go and where your potential is, what is that timeline like? If you were offered a UFC contract tomorrow, would you take it? If you were offered it in five fights, like where do you want your career to go over the course of the next couple of years?
Yeah, I think we're shooting for the UFC within the next, 12 months. Hopefully hopefully this calendar year, if everything falls in line. I've had talks about maybe potentially doing the Contender Series in August. I don't know, man. I don't want to focus too. I don't want to think too far past June 24th. I don't like to plan much ahead past that day because all I'm thinking about is June 24th and finishing. Uh, can you help me with his name?
Rudy
What's his name?
Shafroth.
Finishing Rudy. Yeah, I need to. That's my goal and that's my focus. Is June 24th.
It's definitely going to be the biggest matchup of your career. I don't want to speak too much in the future, but I do, if this is okay, talk a little bit about your upbringing. I mean, how did you get into fighting? When did you start at the pit? How did this all come to be? Because you've been fighting for quite some time, but everyone has an origin story.
I just grew up fighting my brothers and the neighbors and my friends. And my dad was a big fan of boxing. He would always, I remember him always watching Friday night fights. So just getting into that, we had boxing gloves as kids at a young age, and we would settle our differences with the gloves in the backyard on the trampoline. Or so I've just always been obsessed with fighting, and I don't know. I started. My older brother started. He started fighting first, and I knew from there that like it was just a family thing, and we all needed to fight, and we all needed to get in there and train together and just stay physically fit and stay ready. Stay, as men, I feel like we have to be in our best form to protect our families, protect our loved ones.
Yeah. Did you play any sports growing up, or was it primarily just fighting with your brothers and your just family and things like that?
I played like little league football and junior jazz. I wrestled for 1 year because my football coach forced me to, and I didn't really want to, but he forced me to, and I wrestled 1 year. I took second in state. But yeah, I feel like I've always been athletic, but fighting definitely is where I get to showcase my athletic abilities.
So I didn't know that. You took second in state your first and only year in high school wrestling. That's pretty amazing. At that point, was there any itch of like, oh, I should try this MMA thing? Or was that always the plan to go into MMA after high school?
No, it was still MMA was still new back then when I was in high school. It was still up and coming, and so I wasn't really too familiar with it or even thought it was a possibility until I saw my brother fight his first time, and I said, "Oh wow, like, they have a platform for us locally to fight." And then yeah, I just started taking it seriously about 2015, and the rest is history.
It seems like your family and you are very, very close. And it seems like they've been a huge part in you becoming who you are in terms of who you are in the cage. Is your family extremely proud of you? Do you ever get that opportunity to just talk with them about what you do and your training and everything like that?
Yeah, my family's very supportive, and I feel like we're really close. And me and both my brothers, we all train at the pit, so it's it's cool to have them be there as part of my journey and to help me get better. And just having them with me at every day. Both my brothers have been at every one of my fights, so having them with me, I know when I step in the cage, I'm in there physically by myself, but their hearts are out there with me too.
I do want to bring up your family as well, because your brother, I believe, is also on this card. It was just recently announced that he's going to be fighting with you. What's that dynamic going to be like with your brother also on the card? You're probably going to be potentially watching him, or maybe you won't be watching him. What's that going to look like for the Mafileo brothers?
Oh, he better go out there and start the show off right, because if not, then he's gonna have to deal with me when he gets done. And that's just the way it is, and he knows that's how it is. So we'll go out to Idaho and get it done, and feel strongly about it and confident. I've been beating him up his whole life, so he's ready for welterweights. He's been getting heavyweight hands put on him his whole life. So people his size is just, I feel like it's fun for him.
How long has he been at the pit, and how long has he been training alongside you specifically in that setting?
We went to the pit at the same time, so he's been there for about 5 years now, and he started training shortly after me, maybe 2016. So yeah, he's only fought twice, but he's been around a long time. So I'm confident that he's gonna do really well.
Yeah, I was talking to Julian a little bit about him, and he said that he's one of his favorite training partners, one of the other smaller bodies kind of in the gym. A welterweight's not a small body to everybody, but to Julian at that gym with so many big dogs, it definitely is nice. Kent, what's the number one thing that you are looking forward to headed into this main event on June 24th?
Just being able to show what I've been working on for the last 8 years and more so recently since January, just to show every time I get in there, I want to show a little bit different or look a little bit different, so to speak, and just show people that I'm just continuing to grow and I'm taking this serious and I'm still young in this game and I'm soaking it up like a sponge and I feel like I'm more ready than ever and I, you know, good luck to my opponent, but he's in for a rough night.
Well, he is Kent Mafileo making the walk in our main event in just a couple of weeks at the Mountain America Center. You can get tickets over at fiercefightingchampionship.com. Thank you so much for the time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, boss.